But we begin tonight with the story of a party in Florida back in 2017, an allegedly drug-fueled sex party involving a trafficked 17-year-old and allegedly attended by Matt Gaetz. Drugs, underage girls, sex trafficking. As you can imagine, Gaetz really wants these allegations to go away. And it's looking like Republicans and many of his friends are trying to help him bury those allegations. Some damning reporting has emerged from Rolling Stone in partnership with the newsletter American Doom. The author will join me in a minute. Per his reporting, a quote-unquote close friend of Gaetz wants a federal court to destroy records that could shed light on the details of that party. This ongoing scandal may sound familiar to viewers of this show because this party has dogged Matt Gaetz for quite some time. Gaetz was investigated over allegations of sex trafficking a 17-year-old girl. And though the probe ultimately did not yield criminal charges, he remained under investigation by the bipartisan House Ethics Committee, which was looking into whether he engaged in sexual misconduct and illicit drug use. But the probe went away very quickly and very dramatically after Donald Trump announced Gaetz as his choice for U.S. Attorney General. Now, keep in mind, Gaetz still has to be confirmed as AG in the Republican-led Senate, but per Punchbowl News, the Florida man immediately resigned from his congressional seat on Wednesday evening, just 2 days before the Ethics Committee was set to vote on releasing what was described as a highly damaging report on his conduct. With his resignation, the committee no longer has the jurisdiction to continue its investigation. Kind of makes him look kind of guilty, you know? It is a development that could only happen, and without a drop of shame, in a Trump administration. Gaetz is poised to become the next U.S. Attorney General, meaning Donald Trump's next hand of the king. And the reason you should be concerned, very concerned, is that Gaetz could soon run the very same executive branch of government that spent years investigating allegations against himself. He would have supervisory power over the people investigating the case of that trafficked 17-year-old girl. He is literally going to have access to his own investigative file. It is a chilling scene for any alleged victim and for American justice writ large. Now, for the record, Gaetz was informed that the Justice Department would not seek charges last year. He has long denied any wrongdoing. But the Ethics Committee is meeting tomorrow behind closed doors as pressure mounts over whether they will preserve and hand over their report. A source told NBC News that releasing the Matt Gaetz report is expected to be among the topics on the agenda. The findings surely remain relevant now that Trump has nominated Gaetz to serve as the chief law enforcement officer of the United States federal government, a development that is baffling, frankly, but more so chilling. The attorney for Gaetz's alleged unnamed victim tweeted today saying, quote, Gaetz's likely nomination as Attorney General is a perverse development in a truly dark series of events. We would support the House Ethics Committee immediately releasing their report. She was a high school student, and there were witnesses. Joining me now is Justin Glaw, independent journalist and author of the American Doom newsletter, and MSNBC political analyst David Jolly. Justin Glaw, let me go to you first. What is known about Gaetz's specific involvement at that party regarding this girl? Because there was another man, a friend of Gaetz, who actually was indicted on these same facts. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I think what's known is that Gaetz was there. That's what the victim in the case has said. That's what Gaetz's ex-girlfriend, his girlfriend at the time, has said. So Gaetz was at this party, according to the documents that have been filed in this federal lawsuit that form the basis of my reporting today. So that's from two sources. There's also tons of text messages and phone calls and other things that allude to Gaetz's presence at this party, which, you know, was not just a neighborhood cookout. There was ecstasy, coke, weed, alcohol. The sex trafficking victim had access to bedrooms in the home where she was apparently meeting with several of the men who were at the party or something along those lines. So Gaetz was there, I think, is fair to say at this point.
And the friend that is trying to bury this evidence, do you understand kind of the reasons that they're trying to hide the evidence? Is it fear that it will get into Gaetz's hands? I mean, if he becomes attorney general, he can get all this evidence. He can find out every single witness that testified in this case. He can get every piece of evidence about it. He'd be the top law enforcement official. What is the reason that these I guess, former friends of his want to bury the evidence?
You know, I don't really know the answer to that. I imagine that part of it is because there were some potential crimes committed here. If the girl at the center of this case was 17 at the time, I think it's a crime if they were having some sort of sexual contact with her. Gaetz's friend, who was trying to keep this information under seal, he has not been indicted. And in fact, he sued the guy who was indicted over defamation and then dismissed his own lawsuit after that guy's attorney came forward and said, hey, we've got you at this party, too. And not only do we have you at this party, but we have you paying for sex with the sex trafficking victim in the case as well, who is the same person that Gaetz is alleged to have potentially paid for sex with also.
David Jolly, I want to play for you Mark Wayne Mullen. Mark Wayne Mullen used to have different thoughts about Matt Gaetz than he does now. He now says he would happily confirm him. He is now a United States Senator. But back in October of 2023, I want you to listen to what he said about Matt Gaetz.
There's a reason why no one in the conference came and defended him, because we had all seen the videos he was showing on the House floor that all of us had walked away of the girls that he had slept with. He'd brag about how he would crush ED medicine and chase it with an energy drink so he could go all night.
David Jolly, I want to play one more soundbite for you. This is Kevin McCarthy, the former House Speaker, who was ousted in large part because of Matt Gaetz's efforts to get rid of him. Here is what Kevin McCarthy had to say back in April about Matt Gaetz.
I'll give you the truth why I'm not Speaker. It's because one person, a member of Congress, wanted me to stop an ethics complaint because he slept with a 17-year-old. An ethics complaint that started before I ever became Speaker, and that's illegal, and I'm not going to get in the middle. Did he do it or not? I don't know. But ethics is looking at it. There's other people in jail because of it. And he wanted me to influence it.
David, you know some of these Republicans that you used to serve with. What is the likelihood that they will have the courage to release this ethics report and at least let the world see what they found?
I think it's more likely it ends up leaked to the media than it's publicly released by the committee. Being released by the committee now that Matt Gaetz has resigned the House would really be unprecedented. But I think what you've heard in just those clips you played is part of Matt Gaetz' problem is he has no friends. He has nobody to defend him. When he was a state legislator in Tallahassee, he was known for this type of behavior. He was protected by his father. His father was one of the most powerful Republicans in the state of Florida, Daddy Gaetz, and Matt was known as Baby Gaetz. Matt goes to Washington, the behavior continues, and it ends up following him until this week. And Joy, I think it's important with all of the news this week that we make very clear Matt Gaetz didn't resign the House because he was nominated by Donald Trump to be Attorney General. He resigned the House to prevent this from coming out. Whether he had been nominated as Attorney General or not, he would have resigned before this had come out because it does prevent the committee from taking action. And understand, the committee's action could be censure, reprimand, or it could have been a recommendation to expel Matt Gaetz from the House of Representatives, someone who is still young, who's gotten away with a lot since the time he entered politics, and whether he's the next Attorney General or not, maybe the next governor of Florida at some point. And understand also with the House, it's a different question, a different burden of proof than U.S. prosecutors having to decide whether or not they could take this case fully to prosecution or not. For the House Ethics Committee, if they decide that there's enough evidence, they release it and make a recommendation. That recommendation could have been that Matt be expelled from the House. That is why he resigned this week, not because of the appointment to be AG.
I will just note one thing that Jake Sherman, the reporter Jake Sherman, did tweet out that there is a precedent for the Ethics Committee to release a report after a member resigns. It's some precedent. In 1987, the committee released a report about former Representative Bill Boner after he resigned to be mayor of Nashville, and there was some sort of sexual scandal. So I take your point, but there is at least some precedent. Very quickly to say with you, David Jolly, do you sense that there are any United States senators, people you knew on Capitol Hill, people you observed since then, Republican that would have the courage to vote against Matt Gaetz, against Donald Trump's orders, knowing that if they fail and he becomes attorney general, he would have the power to go after them, not to mention these witnesses.
Joy, I think you put your thumb on it. It is likely senators who served in the House, possibly with Matt, or certainly served with Kevin McCarthy, or maybe close to Kevin McCarthy, who really believe everything that has been alleged against Matt Gaetz. And so who are those senators? They're not the senators you typically see get in the scrum here. It's a Bill Cassidy from Louisiana, a Kevin Kramer from North Dakota. Honestly, Mark Wayne Mullen surprises me now that he apparently has flipped. But we're about to test the fitness of these Republicans. You would need 4 of them. I think the question is, does this get so bad that does Matt become the sacrificial lamb among Trump appointees? I mean, Donald Trump, as loyal as he is and as crazy as he is, he doesn't want to be within the blast radius of this report getting released. He ran from the Jeffrey Epstein relationship. He'll run from the Matt Gaetz relationship. Or does Donald Trump go straight for the recess appointment? Because if you are using your Department of Justice for retribution, which Donald Trump says, there are few better AGs than Matt Gaetz, someone who lacks any moral code whatsoever.
And by the way, he could easily, the recess appointment, Article 2, Section 3 of the Constitution, he shall from time to time give the Congress information on the State of the Union and recommend to hear consideration such measures as he shall judge necessary and expended. This is the important part. He may on extraordinary occasions convene both houses or either of them, and in the case of disagreement between them with respect to the time of adjournment, he may adjourn them to such time